Am I audible now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh,
Thank
great. Thank God. Firstly, seriously apologies. I had some urgent work. I rushed. And then I was trying to get back home and then again got delayed. So sorry about that. So apologies for starting this late today. Okay, anyway. So without much further ado, let me get straight into the matter at hand. Okay, I hope you're able to see the screen now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yep.
Okay. So what today, instead of actually going through the text of the Theology of the Body, what I decided is we'll just make a summary of Humanae Vitae. Because from lecture number 118 onwards till practically the end of it, John Paul II is going to be discussing theology of the body in the perspective of personalism and in the context of the theology of the body. His entire, if I can put it this way, Humanae Vitae, the encyclical, is in a sense the driving force behind the entire teaching of the theology of the body to a great extent. So the encyclical came out on July 25th, 1968, the feast of Saint James the Apostle, if I'm not mistaken. And since that time, John Paul II has, he's written this as an anthropological and a personalistic study for giving a commentary on the theology of the body. Of the encyclical Humanae Vitae. So that's the reason why he discusses this right at the end. Okay. So why he is trying to create what he calls, in his own words, an adequate anthropology, in the sense of who is a human being in the real sense of the word, who is a human being. So if you understand who is a human being, you will be able to understand better what Pope Paul VI has written in Humanae Vitae. Okay, so that's the aim. So he's trying to define who is a human being in the context of the creation, okay, the redemption, and the eschaton. Okay, the creation obviously is the creation of Adam and Eve, and then followed by obviously you go through the fall of Adam and Eve, and then obviously then comes the redemption, and then we're looking forward to the eschaton, which is the end time, so to speak. Okay, what we are going to experience at the end of time, or for the majority of people, what they're going to experience after they pass away. Okay, when they hopefully encounter the Lord. So either the second coming of the Lord happens first, or we meet the Lord. Okay. So in a sense, it's both. You can kind of call the parousia, because you're going to meet the Lord. The parousia is the presence of the Lord and the meeting with the Lord. Okay. So that's primarily the end aim and the goal for which the entire theology of the body has been written. Okay. So the Humanae Vitae encyclical is, well, it's quite short in that sense, compared to what the theology of the body is. But this is the kind of aim, this entire book is aimed at kind of giving a commentary of the theology of the body. So why am I misclaiming my words? Of the encyclical Humanae Vitae. So I was requesting everybody to go through Humanae Vitae. I don't know how many of you have done that, but in any case, so I am not going to touch this book today. Okay. I'm just going to be looking at the encyclical and just coming up with a summary of that, so that from the next lecture onwards, we'll go to look at what John Paul II has written about it. And then hopefully that will help us, and then we will conclude. Okay, so that's the entire aim. So first and foremost, what's an encyclical? An encyclical is a letter written by the Pope to the faithful and even to the whole world at large, okay, which teaches about some important matter. Okay. One of the I mean, if you ask me personally, there are many encyclicals which are there written by many popes, but right at the outset, if you ask me, the first kind of encyclical which I actually read was Rerum Novarum, written by Pope Leo the 13th, which is the kind of on the social teaching of the church. He was kind of writing this against Marxism and stuff like that. Okay. Okay. My son is trying to disturb. Sorry about that. Yeah. And there he defines what is private property, etc., etc. And then Rerum Novarum, and then of course Humanae Vitae, then Evangelium Vitae of John Paul II, then Veritatis Splendor, the splendor of the truth, again by John Paul II. So, which immediately come to mind because they are I kind of always keep on falling back on them. For most of my understanding of what Catholic doctrine is, okay, not that other encyclicals are not important, but they are. Okay, so an encyclical is the highest form of papal authority. Okay, so I've just gone through two sections of the Catechism of the Catholic Church to define what does it mean, who is the Pope, and of course we all know who is Pope, but what is authority and how does he teach us? So in CCC paragraph 882, the Pope, the Bishop of Rome and Peter's successor is the perpetual and visible source and foundation of the unity, both of the bishops and of the whole company of the faithful. This is a quote directly from Lumen Gentium, paragraph 23, okay, which is quoted in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. For the Roman Pontiff, by reason of his office as Vicar of Christ and as pastor of the entire church, has full, supreme, and universal power over the whole church as a power which he can always exercise unhindered. Again, a quote from Lumen Gentium, paragraph 22 of the Second Vatican Council. Lumen Gentium is one of the highest documents of the Second Vatican Council. Okay, there are 16 documents in the Second Vatican Council. Four are constitutions. Then there are decrees, and then there are declarations. And out of the four, which are constitutions, four are constitutions, two are dogmatic constitutions. And the one which is a dogmatic constitution is Lumen Gentium. And the second, which is the dogmatic constitution, is Dei Verbum, okay, which is on the sacred scripture, okay, how we learn sacred scripture. So Lumen Gentium is Latin. I don't know how to translate it exactly, but it's light to the nations, if I can put it. Lumen is light, and Gentium is kind of nations, the world at large, etc. Lumen Gentium. So Lumen Gentium is quoted in the Catechism of the Catholic Church and saying that the Roman Pontiff, by reason of his office as Vicar of Christ and as pastor of the entire church, has full, supreme, and universal power over the whole church, a power which he can always exercise unhindered. Okay. Again, CCC 891, the Roman Pontiff, head of the College of Bishops, enjoys this infallibility. Okay, this is the infallibility in virtue of his office when, as supreme pastor and teacher of all the faithful, who confirms his brethren in the faith, he proclaims by a definitive act a doctrine pertaining to faith or morals. So an encyclical is written by the Pope to teach in his capacity as the highest authority. Okay. And he writes it in his own authority. Okay. There are various other documents of the church which can be written by various other people. Okay. But encyclical is written by the Pope himself and in his own personal authority as the supreme teacher in the church. Okay, so that's more or less about the encyclical. And then, so let's understand the background for Humanae Vitae. In 1930, Pope Pius XI okay, issues a papal encyclical called Casti Conubi, which is Latin for of chaste wedlock, which explicitly prohibited contraception. Although the word contraception is not used in that encyclical. If you go and read that, the word is not used. Okay. He actually writes this in response to the Anglicans. Okay. Who are the Anglicans? Anglicans are people, you can call them Protestants, but technically, Anglicans are, if you can call it, is right now the Church of England. Okay. Henry VIII was married and he wanted to divorce his wife, and the Pope did not allow it. So he just decided that I'm going to have my own church, and that's why he, in a sense, he created his own church, so to speak, and he becomes the head of that church. So that's why right now King Charles is the head of the Anglican Church. Okay. He's the head of the Anglican Church, although he's a king. So that is and it's a state church, so to speak. Yeah. So Henry VIII establishes the Anglican Church, which is also called the Church of England. And why am I telling you this history? Because somewhere in the beginning of 1930, the Church of England, for the first time in the entire history of Christianity, if I can put it that way, the bishops of the Anglican Church, okay, not Catholics, let me emphasize that. They are broken away from the Catholic Church, okay. Henry VIII did that. They decided that for some specific reason, in a marital context, birth control or contraception can be used by a couple. So that is the first break, so to speak, in Christianity, which takes place. And when Pope Pius obviously comes to know about it, he writes an encyclical called Casti Connubii, which says, Catholics, you cannot do this. Okay, so he explicitly prohibits that. But, the ball is rolling now. You have people, I've not been able to, there's a lot of data here. Okay, if I start telling you, this is going to at least 2.5, 3 hour session, which I don't want to. There are people like Margaret Sanger in the US, who is basically the founder of the Birth Control League, which later on becomes Planned Parenthood. Okay. And there are people there's one lady by the name of Mary Stopes in England. They are all, both of them kind of are champions in terms of championing the cause of birth control. Okay. So in 1930s, the Anglicans kind of went down the slippery slope, but the Catholic Church still held its fort, and the church said no, nothing to do with contraception at all. But still, since this was in the air and it was circulating and all that, Pope John the 23rd set up the Pontifical Commission on Population, Family and Birth Control in 1963 to intensely study the issue of birth control. Okay. Now, by the time what has happened is already the birth control pill has already come in. Okay. So here was a big confusion. Now, right now, all of us, we kind of know what a birth control pill is. We have already seen what Nirod is and, various kind of birth control pills which are there in the world. But at that time, it was not exactly clear as to what the birth control pill does. Okay. So if a woman would take a birth control pill, what does it do in her physical body? Is it inhibiting ovulation? Okay. If it inhibits ovulation, then it, kind of, it opens the door for, everything is now natural. Okay. So if your ovulation is inhibited, then it seems as if everything is fine. You know, you could have sexual intercourse and then there is no child and everything is kind of hunky-dory and, you know, so you can, it would be like, I don't know whether this analogy is good or bad. I have no idea, but they're like, you know, throwing on a switch or off, switching it off. Okay. Within the woman's physical body, if I can put it that way. So if you take a pill, you're like switching off the, you know, your menstrual cycle. And then when you stop taking the pill, then you're switching it on. You kind of, you know. So it was not really understood exactly what it does. So at that time, they started doing a study of this. Okay. Now, after setting up this commission, Pope John the 23rd dies. Okay. And then Pope Paul the Sixth become Pope. So there are reports of this commission which were handed over to Pope Paul the Sixth later. So there is a majority report, I mean, so-called majority report, okay, which was approved by 64 of the 72 members. And they all favored birth control. Okay. So please understand what's happening. So the majority of the commission. Now, please understand that there are priests, there are bishops, in fact, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are a few cardinals also. Okay. And that's the entire members of the commission. The so-called majority report, 64 of them approved and said, no, it was perfectly fine to have birth control. It's all right. Then there is a minority report. I mean, again, this is a so-called report because there was a dissension within the commission. So the majority said they gave a report, and then the other members, they also gave a report. Okay. And which is kind of called the minority report in a way. And the chief authors of the minority report was actually a layperson by the name of Germain Grise. He's a moral theologian. He's a layperson. And the other author was Father John C. Ford. He's a Jesuit Catholic priest. Both of these people together write the report, and then it is signed by the others who did not agree with the majority report. So, and the minority report was submitted to Pope Paul VI. If you can go on Google and search for Germain Grise, he's got an entire series of articles where you can go and check the history of how this came about. Okay. It's a wonderful read. You can go and check it. Just type Germain Grise and Humanae Vitae or birth control or something of that sort. On Google, you will get a link, which it's really worth reading. Anyway. So this was the situation, and this was the background in which Pope Paul VI is operating. Now, in July 1965, a Gallup poll asked Catholic Americans if they thought their church would ever approve of birth control. Okay. Would you believe it? 61% of the respondents replied as yes. So this was already in the background. This was already what was expected, that the Catholic Church would also say, yeah, it's all right. Birth control is fine, no problem. So there was a very famous doctor by the name of Dr. John Rock. Okay, he taught in Harvard Medical School. He was a well-known doctor. He expected the Vatican to approve the pill, the birth control pill. He was of the opinion that the pill was a natural form of birth control. So natural, okay, nothing artificial, nothing, no problems. So he said, in fact, afterwards he commits, after Pope Paul VI writes Humanae Vitae, he said that he was completely disappointed, it seems. Anyway, so this was basically what takes place. Now, what happens immediately after the publication of, or the promulgation of the encyclical? There was a lot of resistance. Okay. So I'm just going to list a few items of resistance down so that you can understand what took place. So in Humanae Vitae, Pope Paul VI says no to contraception very clearly. So let's understand what the word contraception. I have already said in my previous lectures, I've already told you what contraception is, but I'll just kind of tell you what it is again. Excuse me. The word contra means against, and there is no word called ception. Contraception is actually a joining together of two words, two Latin words. The first word is contra, which most of you and all of us kind of understand. It means against. The other word is actually conceptio or conception in English. So the actual word should have been contra conception or, contra conceptio, which is very clear. Contra conception. What is conception? Bringing forth of life. So what is contra? Is against the bringing forth of life. The word itself is telling you that it is against the bringing forth of life. So if you understand a little bit of what is known as euphemism in the English language, the intensity of a particular thing that you want to share is kind of diluted by what is known as a euphemism. So where you kind of, want to downplay the effect of certain things. So euphemistically, the word has been kind of cut short and made into contraception, not conception, but contraception. So what is contraception? It is nothing other than contraconception. Okay. So Pope Paul VI said completely no to contraception. Okay, which is also contraconception. So then what happens? In 1968, September 1968, several Canadian bishops met together at Fort Garry Hotel in Winnipeg and came up with a Winnipeg statement, which rejected the teaching of Humanae Vitae. Can you imagine? Bishops are going against the Pope. Okay. And in 1968, then Father Charles Curran, who was an associate professor of moral theology at the Catholic University of America, together with more than 80 theologians, okay, drafted a statement disagreeing with the moral teaching of the encyclical. Later, at the Catholic University, 2,000 demonstrators, including priests and nuns, gathered to voice their dissent. A group of European theologians met in Amsterdam in September 18, 1968 and issued a dissenting statement. By 1970, 2/3 of all Catholic women in America were using the pill and other birth control methods banned by the church. So 1968 July, the encyclical comes, and by 1970, that is within 2 years or 2.5 years, whatever, 2/3 of all Catholic women in America has already started using the pill. So they have already said nothing to do with the Pope, whatever the Pope taught. Okay. And I don't need to tell you what the condition is right now. Okay. 2/3 is right now a very small number. I think the vast majority of Catholics are in practical disagreement with this teaching of Humanae Vitae. This is the resistance which is taking place to this encyclical. And it was so drastic that Pope Paul VI was very, very upset because he held on to the actual teaching of the church passed on from ages. And he was very upset. And after Humanae Vitae, he never wrote any other encyclical till he passed away in 1978. That is what took place to him. Okay, so let's get on to the importance of Humanae Vitae. Okay. So let's understand. The magisterium, which is the Pope and the bishops as successors of the apostles, have the vocation to interpret the natural moral law and teach accordingly. So please understand something. Humanae Vitae, if any one of us have read it, yes, it speaks about the creator, etc., etc. But the entire argument, if I can put it that way, is based on natural law or natural moral law. Okay. So in that sense, it is not just binding in a sense on Catholics, but it is an invitation to the entire world, because what Pope Paul VI is saying, God is a creator of human beings. And if we participate in any anti-life activity, then we are going against God. And God is the one who's created this natural law, okay, which is kind of, in a sense, applicable to every human being, okay, not just to Catholics. Okay. So he's arguing on the basis of natural law. Okay. Of course, he's referring to tradition also, but the entire moral argument, if you read through the entire text, is an argument on the basis of natural law. And that is why this is written openly to everybody in that sense. Okay. So what is the title? The title Humanae Vitae is in Latin. In English, it kind of means of human life, or you can put it, translate as for human life, okay, or of human life. The encyclical dealt with the meaning of marriage, conjugal love, and the procreation of children. It affirmed the truth of God's plan for marriage and sexuality. So, I'll just highlighted a few points, okay. Conjugal love as instituted by God the Father is free, total, faithful, and fruitful. These are 4 words which are very beautiful. So it says, free, etc., etc. He writes. Then it has to be total, etc. Then it has to be faithful. Then it has to be the word which he actually uses in the English translation is fecund. I don't know how do you pronounce fecund or fecund. Fecund. That's the word which is used. Other translation is fruitful, which means fruitful. So these 4 words are very popular. Okay. Free, total, faithful, fruitful. So what is conjugal love? Conjugal love has to be free. It has to be a total self-gift of person. It has to be completely faithful, and it has to be open to the possibility of life, which means it has to be fruitful. So these 4 words, kindly remember. I like to put it, I like to make it all 4 Fs. I like to say free, full, faithful, fruitful, full and total, no? Kind of similar words. So, but anyway, Pope Paul VI has used the word total. So I will also tell you what he's written, which is in paragraph 9 of Humanae Vitae. Okay. Then he says conjugal love is both unitive and procreative. Okay. Like I've asked this question primarily many times before. What is the primary end of marriage? It's children, procreation. So in order for us to procreate, as to bring forth life, man and woman are coming together. Okay. Of course, man and woman coming together is also of primary importance. Okay. Let's not downplay that. This unity is very essential. And that unity is a sign of the union between God and man. Okay. So this is very, 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 very important, powerful, profound. Okay. But it also needs to be open to the possibility of life. Okay. So there is an end in that sense. Okay. That's what, if you read the book of Genesis says, be fruitful and multiply, he says. For this reason, man shall leave his father, mother, and he shall be united to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. That's the unitive part. And then be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. That's the procreative part. So you have the unitive and the procreative. Okay. So these are both absolutely essential parts of conjugal love. And they too inherently form the marital act. That is what it is. Okay. That's what Pope Paul VI is saying. So the church teaches, now here is the most, I mean, if you can put it, the most important line in the whole encyclical. The church teaches that each and every marital act must of necessity retain its intrinsic relationship to the procreation of human life. Humanae Vitae, paragraph 11. That means in other words, every marital act should be open to the possibility of life. Okay. That's what he's saying. What does that mean? Now, does every marital act bring forth a child? No, it doesn't. Okay. But every marital act should be open to the possibility of life. That is what he's saying. I hope that you understand the distinction between the two. This means that a husband and a wife cannot separate the two aspects of conjugal love, okay, through sexual intercourse, which is unitive and procreative. You cannot, separate both of these. Unfortunately, what does the world want? The world wants only the union. Okay, said sex is kind of just for the sake of the pleasure, but not for the fruit of it. So it's like, I just want to enjoy, but I don't want to have the fruit of it. Okay. So that's the world. That's what the world is dictating to us. But the church is clearly saying that that is wrong. It's not right. Okay. So let's look at what is considered as immoral and thus forbidden by Humanae Vitae. So directly interrupting the life already begun. That means if a child has been conceived in the mother's womb, you cannot abort. That means it is forbidden to willfully procure an abortion. We are not talking about a miscarriage here. Okay. If a miscarriage takes place, well, really sad if that happens. But what is an abortion? An abortion is not a miscarriage. A miscarriage is sometimes which happens, okay, for whatever reason, or because of certain physical problems. A child after its conception may not grow and, uh, come into full birth at the 9 to 10 months. But before that, passes away. And then that's called a miscarriage. That's not an abortion. That's not an abortion. Okay. What is an abortion? If you deliberately decide to kill the the child within its own mother's womb. That's what an abortion is. Okay. So that is completely not legit. Okay. That's what Pope Paul VI is saying in Humanae Vitae. Then he goes on to say that sterilization, either temporarily or permanently, of the husband and or of the wife is forbidden. That is, vasectomy or tubal ligation are forbidden. Okay, vasectomy is when a male is prevented. There is uh, in the testis of the male, the vas deferens, which is the canal through which the semen is passed out. Okay, that is cut. That is called vasectomy. And what is known as tubal ligation is either tying the two fallopian tubes of the left and the right ovary or cutting out of. It's called tubal ligation. Both are forbidden. Then there are the other means of artificial, the use of artificial means to render conjugal acts sterile. That is artificial forms of birth control pills, Depo-Provera, which is another birth control pill, condoms, IUD, intrauterine devices, etc. are all forbidden. This is written in Humanae Vitae, paragraph 14. Now, what is permitted in Humanae Vitae? Let's look at that. If there are serious reasons for spacing the births of children because of health issues, it is permissible to take into account the natural cycles of the husband and wife to have relations during the period of infertility. So, which is commonly called as natural family planning, which is mentioned in Humanae Vitae, paragraph 16. Okay. Somebody's put something in chat. Is abortion a crime? Okay. Now, Sunsi is asking this question, so it was directly asked to me, but since I think it's better I answer. The answer is like this. Now let's understand what is a crime. A crime is going against the law. Okay, very simply. Now, if you are and I believe most of us who are in this audience here are Catholics. Now, Catholics are governed by what is known as a canon law. Okay, that is the law of the church. And as per the law of the church, abortion is a crime. Okay, so that means now, unfortunately, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know how to put it, but the church does not have, in a sense, if you commit a crime, let's say, in the normal act, if you, let's say, go and steal, okay, and if the person from whom something has been stolen, he goes to the police, complains, and you are caught, then you are put into jail, right? And or you have to pay some penalty, whatever. So there is a punishment for that crime, correct? But the state has the ability to enforce the punishment. Okay, that is when the you are, you have to go to jail, or you have to pay some penalty, or some reparation has to be done in some way or the other for a crime which is committed. Now, the Catholic Church, in that sense, does it have the ability to enforce something on each individual who goes and commits an abortion? I mean, yeah, I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. Okay, the Catholic Church is not ruling, all over the world. So I am a Catholic. Most of us are Catholics, but the Pope does not have a police force, if I can put it that way, to come and catch hold of you and put you in jail if you commit a crime. No. But so, so this is going to be a little bit of a nuanced answer. I'm saying it's a crime, but you're not going to be caught hold, or you're not going to be caught for that. You're not going to be punished for that in that sense on earth. Okay. When I'm talking about punishment, I'm talking about punishment on earth. Now, is abortion a crime in India? Okay. As per Indian law, let me put it this way. Yes and no. Right now, I think the ceiling is up to 24 weeks of pregnancy. So up to 24 weeks of pregnancy, you can commit an abortion. After that, if you commit an abortion, you are not allowed. Okay. As per Indian law, even now. So, what is that? Somebody's put something else in chat. Okay, read paragraph 20 to 58. I'll leave it at that. Michael has put up. Okay, you can go and read it. Human life is sacred, etc., etc. Now, I agree with what Michael has put up. I was trying to put it, explain it in a simple way. So, if you commit a crime in India, okay, and if they enforce the punishment, then you will pay a penalty for it. But more than it being a crime, okay, it's a sin. Okay, that means you will have an eternal punishment which is waiting for you, which is far greater than any punishment which can go, I mean, far greater than any punishment any human court can, indict you for. Yeah, Amita Braganza said to everyone, after 24 weeks, the request for abortion go to the courts. Okay, that's true. That's the law in India. But if you go to the United States of America, there are certain states which allow you permission to abort until the time of birth, even after birth. Okay, so I'm sorry to say so, and they call themselves a developed country. I don't want to say anything further. So this is okay. I hope, yeah. So Sunsi said you got it. So let's go ahead and then. So what are the predictions that Pope Paul VI made in this encyclical? Pope Paul VI stated in this encyclical that birth control will lead to certain issues. You'll find that in Humanae Vitae, paragraph 17. It would increase the possibility of marital infidelity. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Okay. Said that if you allow birth control pills and others to be just freely distributed, then men would get into bed with as many women as they want, because they are kind of, in a sense, quote unquote, liberated from the fear of having children. Okay, so you just enjoy whatever. Okay, so marital infidelity would increase. It's a prediction which Pope Paul VI made in 1968. Okay, please understand. And we are in 2024. I think it's safe to assume that he was right. Marital infidelity has increased. Now, there would be a moral degeneration in society at large. I don't think we need to even discuss that. That's 100% true. Okay. Look at what's happening around the world. Third, he says the loss of man's respect for woman. That is, the male would lose respect for woman, which meant that the man would no longer care for the physical and psychological well-being of the woman. He would see just the woman as some object for the satisfaction of his sexual pleasures. That is the way a man would start looking at a woman. And that is indeed true. Okay. And then the fourth thing that he said, the government would start to impose coercive methods of birth control on its citizens, which would violate the inherent the inhibit, I don't know, that's a typo, completely my mistake, would violate their inherent freedom in the area of conjugal relationships. Okay. Humankind would start to consider that they would be having unlimited power over the human body. These are the predictions of Pope Paul VI. And I think he was a prophet. And he predicted, and each one of these predictions have come true. Yeah. So this is a beautiful cartoon which says, there's Pope Paul VI, and he's saying, the family in decline, the porn problem, government contraception mandate, and single parent households on the rise. All the results of not listening to the Pope. And the Pope is sitting there and he's saying, I warned them. Okay. I'm closing with this. And I think more than all these things, yeah. Okay. Michael has put up another YouTube video link saying the worst lie of birth control pill. So all of you are free to go and watch that. Okay. More than anything else, you just need to read this and take a little, pay attention to what he's saying. In the second paragraph itself, said but the most remarkable development of all is to be seen in man's stupendous progress in the domination and rational organization of the forces of nature, to the point that he is endeavoring to extend this control over every aspect of his own life, over his body, over his mind and emotions, over his social life, and even over the laws that regulate the transmission of life. This is what man is trying to do. And because he's trying to do this, Pope Paul VI is saying, man is acting in a sense like becoming God. Okay. These are my words. He's trying to play God. And this is what's happening. And he's saying, please don't do this. Like a good father is telling the children, please don't do this. It is not good for you. So now that is my comment in the next line. It says, in stating this, Pope Paul VI is stating that human beings have increasingly resorted to believe that they can play God, which is the primary problem which confronts humanity. This is due to original sin through which Adam and Eve became autonomous from God. Okay. Adam and Eve said, like, we don't want you, God. We can decide what is right and wrong. Okay. So we will become God to our own selves. And this is the ultimate reality, that now man is able to, control nature, control his own body, do whatever he wants to his own self. And that is absolutely wrong. So just a summary of the entire encyclical Humanae Vitae. If there are any questions, I'm willing to answer, or any clarifications or doubts. And then next week, we'll go through the text of the Theology of the Body. Okay, about what John Paul II is saying about this, a very important encyclical called Humanae Vitae. Yeah. This is just a summary, okay? So I would urge you all to please go and read the whole thing. It'll be really nice. So any comments, clarifications, doubts? I hope I've done justice to summarize this whole thing.
Cheta, one question based on the question that was asked for finding out if abortion is a sin or abortion is a crime. So there are because I had these questions, I take catechism confirmation class. So students had asked me what about exceptions where there is conception due to uh, incest, like father impregnating a daughter or brother impregnating sister, or conception occurring due to rape, conception occurring or abortion happening when the mother and child's life is at risk. Doctor saying either one can be saved. So these situations I had asked to Dino Chetan, and Dino Chetan had given me a very detailed answer. Quite a few pages, and because it was required for the students. So my request is to Dino Chetan if he can summarize it, or we can send out the detailed answer on the Theos group so everyone can go through it. It was very beautiful.
So, do you know if you can share the entire answer? That will be wonderful. So, it'll save me the trouble also. I've not read what Dino said. I'm absolutely certain that what Dino has sent across would be absolutely perfect and right. Okay. So now there are broadly there are two questions, okay, which I can grasp what you're saying. Now here, when it is a question about if there is a threat to the life of the mother, okay, that's a very, very important question. And then the usual ones which are talked about, in case of rape, in case of incest, in case of this, in case of that, whatever. Would you allow an abortion? Okay. Let's deal with the first, which was actually in the case of a risk to the life of the mother. Okay. Now this might sound it might sound very, very foolish, or I don't know, even crazy to hear. But then the woman, the mother, we can see, right? But the child we cannot see. The child is in her womb. So we have a tendency to think that the woman's life is more important than the child's life, which is understandable, humanly understandable. I absolutely understand that. But honestly speaking, if you really look at it, both are equally important lives, no? A child's life is as equally important as the mother's life, because both are life. That is the fundamental basis on which we have to come to a conclusion as to what is the thing which needs to be done. If we start saying that the mother's life is more important than the child's life, then we have a problem. Okay. I'm not saying don't save the mother. Okay. Please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is very clear. Both lives are equally important. And humanly speaking, sometimes what happens is we tend to put the mother's life as more important than the child, because naturally, if you look at the woman, she's there right in front of you. And the child we can't see because child is in the womb, no? So we tend to give less importance to the life of the child, which is also understandable. Okay, we are all human beings, we kind of understand that. But let's look at honestly, isn't the child's life important? Yes, no?
Yes.
Right? So now comes a decision-making process. Now here is a key thing. In order to save life, now pay attention, okay, then this is going to be very critical. In order to save life, okay, the effort right now, what is the intention? Please understand. Now, if let's say there is a threat to the life of the mother, okay, and who determines that there is a threat to the life of the mother? The doctor is going to say that, okay. The doctor may be a Christian, maybe not a Christian. That's a different story. But the doctor, in his own professional judgment, is now coming and giving you a kind of his opinion or his assessment, let's say, saying that if this pregnancy continues, then there is a threat to the life of the mother. Okay, this is the assessment. Now, what do you do? Okay, the doctor has done his job of his professional advice. Okay, that's what he can do. No, now he cannot go against the decision of the husband, the wife. Okay, he cannot, because the parents, the patient right is important. But the doctor comes and makes a suggestion. Now, what are you going to do? Now, let's analyze this in a little more detail. Why is there a threat to the woman's life? Is it an ectopic pregnancy? Okay. Most of the times, the threat to the woman's life is in the case of an ectopic pregnancy. Most of the time, I'm not saying every time, okay? Most of the time. What's an ectopic pregnancy? An ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy where the child is now not within the uterus. Okay. If the child is inside the uterus, then the child is implanted in the uterus and is growing in the uterus. But if the child is not anywhere in the uterus, is outside the uterus, mostly in the fallopian tube or somewhere outside, then the child is not going to get nourishment. Okay. And eventuality of that is that the child is going to die, even if it's not already dead. All right. Please understand, not in the uterus, outside the uterus. Okay. Within the body of the woman, of course, but outside the uterus. That's a very key determinant. So if within the fallopian tube, then it's going to rupture the fallopian tube and the child itself is going to die. But that rupture of the fallopian tube is going to cause a threat to the life of the mother. Under those circumstances, you try and save the life of the mother. The intention is to save life. Okay. So save the life. In this process, if a child's life is lost, it is not an abortion. Okay. What is an abortion? When you decide to willfully kill the life of a child within its own mother's womb, then it becomes an abortion. Here, what is the intention? There is a threat to the life of the mother. So, you are trying to save somebody's life. And in the process, yes, maybe the child is lost, but the intention is to save life. Then that's perfectly permissible. I hope this makes it clear. Okay. Then, Jyotis has asked a question. I'll come back to your question, Joseph, because I'm trying to answer Michael's question. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little time on this. Then the other question is cases of incest, rape, etc., etc. Now, here in all these situations, a life is a life is a life is a life is a life. Okay. It might be the most difficult situation to go through, but you cannot say just because there is a rape, just because there is some incestual thing which is taking place, that the life is not precious. Every life is precious. So you try and save life of the child. So you will not allow an abortion, even in the case of incest or in the case of rape. It's very difficult to accept. Psychologically, even, very difficult to hear these words. But the life of a child is precious. So you try and not do anything to hinder the life of the child. Okay. So I hope that answers the question. Now let's come to Jyotis Marias. And then for detailed answer, you can always, I think, Michael, if you have the text of what Dino has put up, you can also share in that group. Okay. Let's come to Jyotis Maria. Using condom due to the situation of couple in the first year of marriage where couple aren't ready for a child, is it okay, or the natural child planning should be the way to look forward to? Okay, let's deal with this very clearly. When you say I do at the altar, okay, that means you are ready. That's what it means. Okay? When you've said, I do to your husband and to your wife, okay, that means you are ready. That's it. So there is, I'm sorry to say so. I mean, because what does marriage mean? If you are not ready to undertake the possibility of having children, and if you're not ready for it psychologically, then you're not ready to be married. Marriage means the possibility of having children. So when you say you're ready, when you say I do, that means you're ready. That's what it means actually. Okay. So I'm sorry, might feel very, problematic or even distasteful to hear this.
Yeah, very true, very true.
But that is what it means. I'm sorry to say so. So please don't get into any sort of contraceptive method. Okay. Because it just will not help. Natural family planning, on the other hand, is saying, yes, you can avail of the infertile periods. Okay. That's legit. But please understand one thing. If you are going to deliberately, what is natural family planning? Natural family planning saying that, okay, see, you have to understand male sexuality and female sexuality. In male sexuality, a male is, if I can put it that way, 24/7, 365 days of the year, ready to have a child. Okay, that's how a male is being created. But a female is not created that way. A female has broadly, generally a 28-day menstrual cycle, within which you have initially the menstruation, and then you have there is a period of infertility, and then there is a period of fertility which lasts something in the range of 7 to 10 days. Okay, the peak ovulation date would be somewhere in the range of 14, 15, 16th day of the menstrual cycle, and then it continues, and afterwards again there will be a period of infertile days, and then again the cycle starts with menstruation, then again a period of infertility, again fertility, with peak ovulation somewhere in the middle, and then again infertility. So this is the kind of cycle. So within that, if you are going to understand that deliberately and also start using natural family planning with the intention of not having children, then that is also morally wrong, because now you are using the natural cycle with an intention of not having children. Okay. Please, that is also morally wrong. Because if you have an intention of using NFP with the intention of not having children, and let's say you'll end up having a child, in the sense you become pregnant, and the intention has been not to have that child, what is the possibility? The next possibility is that you might actually tend to go and abort the child. All right. So, although NFP is natural, you cannot have that intention of not having children. I hope I've answered the question. Yeah. Anything else?
I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
Church allow abortion? What church say?
Sorry, what church allows abortion? I couldn't hear you clearly.
Church allow the abortions also? What?
Church does not allow abortion.
So what it will do? Like
What it will do?
what church will do?
Acha, what church will do? This is like the same question, no? About crime and punishment. What can the church do to punish you? Honestly, the church can't do anything. Okay, not on earth. but there is somebody called God in heaven, no? He can punish. All right. I'm being brief, but I hope that answers your question. Natural family planning is allowable more for spacing of children. Yeah, true.
So
Yeah,
Dominic,
yeah.
can I just say one thing?
Please.
Yeah. So, I mean, just thinking about this Humanae Vitae and how you mentioned that Pope Paul VI is so prophetic in his encyclical that he wrote.
Yeah.
Now, apart from anything else, if you just look at what's happening to worldwide population, because see, the replacement ratio is 2.1, has to
Correct.
be 2.1 in order
Correct.
for the nation to generate itself generations after generation.
True.
And what's happening now is that because of all the contraception and artificial methods of family planning, etc., and people talking about the population, the myth of overpopulation has now become underpopulation, and nations are worried now, right? So we have to really,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
we ourselves have to be conscious of that. And I would urge every married couple, especially the younger ones, please don't think of limiting the number of children. I myself, my husband and I, we have 6 children, and we're so
Amazing.
blessed. We're so
Praise
blessed,
God.
with the
Praise God.
children.
Yeah.
It's something else, I mean, to have that. It's so beautiful. So when I meet young couples, I constantly encourage them, I say, yeah. In fact, just today I was talking to someone in my husband's, who's his partner in a chartered accountant firm. And as far as I knew, he has 1 child. And I said, you know what? It's now, why don't stop at 1, have another child. You should have. And you know what he said? Ma'am, we didn't tell anybody, but in the month of May, we're expecting our 2nd child.
Oh,
So I
praise
said,
God.
wonderful, I'm so happy. And then, I'm planning to tell him after a couple of years now, listen, don't stop at 2. You must have your 3rd.
Yeah, the
So,
tendency is that, when you say,
yeah.
I mean, I remember when we had, immediately after marriage, first child was the first year, second child was second year, the first was a boy, the second was a girl. And everybody started saying, oh, you have a complete family. I was like, no, it's not. A boy and a girl, you got a boy and a girl. It's complete. No, it's not complete. Who said it's complete?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yes.
Still remember that.
And then you had more children, or what?
Yeah, by the grace of God, we have 3.
Oh, great. Your story sounds the same as Mark's and mine. First 10 months, boy. Within the next 1 year, girl.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, of course, after that, it was fortunate.
Yeah.
It's good that we had some spacing, and the 6 children were born for many years. Yes. Anyway, but thank you. It's wonderful to hear you, Dominic.
Thank you so
because
much.
I feel that you're so good in your answers, and you're so convinced, and it comes from a place of real spiritual conviction, and so it's great. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. That's
Not at all. It's
that's
wonderful.
always helpful.
Yeah, and you're taking so much trouble to bring this across to us. So God bless you.
No, not my effort. It's the organizers' effort who have taken the trouble to organize the whole thing. So I'm just like I say, I'm just a loudspeaker.
No. It's a tremendous effort. Yeah. But anyway, thanks to all of you, Dino and everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dino.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, someday you can, I don't know, I have an entire presentation of the myth of overpopulation, which I had done a long time ago to many people live. Yeah, so where we can talk about the population bomb and the
Yes.
famous book of
the Malthusian. You remember the Malthusian?
Yeah, Malthus
Oh
and
God, we
John
used to say
Malthus and
that
all
when
that.
we did economics, and he was that, always so morose. No. Everything is going to overtake, and the whole world is going to vanish. So be careful. Yeah.
But unfortunately, that Malthusian theory still persists, sadly. Even though it's still there. It's alive and kicking, unfortunately.
True. No, but then, again, countries and governments are sort of waking up, but it's always a wake-up call too late. For
Yeah,
example,
I mean,
China,
look at
after China,
Japan. Look at Japan.
Japan, it's a dying population.
Yeah,
It's an
look
aging,
at
totally. It's terrible. It's, my
unfortunately
God, it's terrible. Yes, yes, yes. What about China?
China,
Very,
Japan,
very sad. And even
Korea,
the
South Korea,
Scandinavian. Yeah.
so many
Yeah,
countries.
South Korea too. Mm.
Yeah, I
I
think
think,
recently I read
we
that
should,
South Korea
yeah.
is at 0.7.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's true. I don't know. I have
extremely
still to
low.
check the facts properly.
Yeah,
I've heard that it is a 0.7
it's
replacement rate, which is like you can't recover from that. It's impossible. I don't know how they're going to manage. Anyway, yeah, we're running kind of short of time. It's already past 10:30. So if there are any more questions we can answer or any clarifications, otherwise
I
we'll...
have the last question.
Yeah, sorry, Nidhi, go ahead.
Does church allow just boyfriend and girlfriend?
It's
Yeah.
sweet. Such a sweet question, but
Not multiple boyfriends and multiple girlfriends. One boyfriend. And that is if you are aiming to get married, okay, not just for the sake of time pass, if I can put it that way. Okay. So
And
yeah.
if you're getting if you're have a boyfriend and girlfriend and getting to married, then
Yeah, you are meant to get married. No, that's why you want to have a boyfriend or girlfriend. No. Otherwise, just don't get into any relationship just like that. Okay. Please don't. I'm not encouraging that, what is normally understood as boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. That's not what my intention is. Okay, please. When you are serious about getting married, then is when you want to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Okay. Otherwise, everyone is a friend. That, I think, is a better way to go ahead. When you're serious about getting married. And then don't make it a prolonged 5-year-long courtship and whatever. If you're serious about getting married, understand the person and get married. Don't get into a 5-year and then God knows what you're going to do. And after 5 years, you break up and then I'll get into some other relationship. It's a huge mess.
I think Nidhi also wants to know whether they can be physically intimate. I think that's what she wants.
Yeah, I didn't want to answer that directly. So I said, let me put it this way. Of course not.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dominic. I think it's a little over time. So maybe,
sure.
I don't know, Michael, if you can end up with a short prayer, if you're okay.
Sure, brother. And I don't have admin rights for the Theos group, so I cannot post your message. If you can post the message which we discussed.
Yeah, Dino, please, if you can put it up, it'll be great.
And I can give Michael admin rights, no problem. And I said, as of now, you can close with the prayer, Michael.
Yeah. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Abba, gracious and loving. As we conclude this session, diving deeper into the mysteries of our bodies and soul, through the beautiful writing of Humanae, we offer our gratitude for the wisdom shared by Brother Dominic, the insight gained, the connections made. We ask for blessings to be showered upon all the participants, their intentions, their families. Help us to carry the truths of the teachings of TOB as we go forth from this place. May we strive to honor and respect the sacredness of our bodies, recognizing them as gifts from you. Guide us, Abba, in our relationships, that we may mirror your love and selflessness in all that we do. Grant us the grace to live authentically and with integrity, embracing the dignity of every person we encounter. As we depart from this meeting, may your presence remain with us, with our families, with our work, with our studies, with all our vocations which you have given us. Comfort us in times of struggle and inspire us to live as true witnesses of your love. Bless us, O Lord. All these prayers we ask in the holy and mighty name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior, Master and Friend. Amen.
Amen.
I mean, Michael, if you can just ping me in WhatsApp because I don't have your number. Okay.
So this is Jeev, Dinabhai.
Then I'll just put my number here. The chat. Okay.
Again.
I'll just put in the chat my number. You can check that. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
You
Okay,
can just
I
stop
just put here.
recording, no?
Okay. Yeah, done. We're closing. Anyway, thank you so much. Have a good night. Good night. God bless you all.
Yeah.
Do you know,
Meet you next week.
will you be posting
Sorry?
that your reply? I would like to have that reply which you gave to Michael. That reply about what was that question? That 7
Sorry,
pages. I made
I
email.
missed that.
No,
Yeah.
what Michael was asking is about child conceived in rape, in incest,
yeah.
etc., and about the threat to the mother's life.